did with the big red barn. So again, you're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes, and this is where I start withholding information. So just so you guys have a genuine experience. So what is this place? This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. The mansion sat in the front of this space facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with that white truck and came all the way across. And the servants and slaves for the home were in the back of the space. So normally I take you where that SUV's parked, but they're kind of in this one. So I brought us over here. So who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks. That's why we look for secondary clues, so we know which one came through. So the son and the nephew, signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's boring political things, so we're going to move on because I hate politics more than everybody here. If I don't bring it up, they normally do it for me very angrily on one of the spirit boxes. So keep in mind, I actually have 7 different communication devices, and when I have a full group of 10, they are spread out pretty wide. So I don't like angry messages. We're not going to make that angry. So we're going to talk about Eliza instead. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. If you're going to ask her how old she was, don't expect numbers like 12 and 14, which would have been a marrying age in the 1700s. Think of how old people would be in today's standards. How old were people when they get married in today's days? The reason I bring this up is because her husband Charles was over double her age when they got married. So kind of a creepy age gap back then, creepy age gap now. So she married him because her father was over in England. He thought he was dying. He was trying to bring all his children home one last time. So Eliza didn't believe he was dying. So she stays put, she gets married. 1744, you don't get married in that particular year for a green card. Because again, she's not from here. We're not even a country yet. Green cards don't exist. So she did marry him out of love. Sorry, I try to make this brief because I know she's probably getting angsty. But anyway, she was right. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to where we're standing right now. You guys have been in town for a day or two. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. One of the gifts that she got were the plant seeds of indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. None of you are wearing it tonight, just so you guys know. I look at everybody's pants, right? So kind of a dirty tour guide. But at any rate, so she didn't know what to do with the seeds when she got them. So she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not warm here all the time. She figured it out, then figured out how to make the dye, moved it to a cash crop, got a hold of her father and said, rice plantations are going downhill, we're gonna make a killing with the indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
That's the boring business stuff of Eliza. Let's get into the weird stuff because that's why you guys are here. So I'm gonna give you a couple of focus questions so that way you guys, based on the type of spirit boxes that you're using. So I'm gonna start with yours. You can obviously do the age question, how old she was when she got married. But I also want you to go after the mansion. It's not here anymore. So what happened to it and when did that happen? And these are questions you can either just focus on or ask out loud. Do you have something already?
This is sold.
Sold? Okay, well again, when we spread out a little bit in this space, again, I don't want to know every term that shows up. I'll take a look at them at a glance. With yours, you're going to go after Eliza's death. So I want you to ask her how old she was when she died, what did she die from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. These are questions we commonly get the answers to. Now, keep in mind, I have 7 communication devices. I have more questions that we commonly get the answers to. That's why I want you to tell me all of the weird things that you're hearing. Again, that number 40 that you heard over there, that's not coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I use the number 40 on a nightly basis. I don't know what the hell Mexico means, but again, I'm not Google, so I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So again, if you haven't already started your recordings from your cameras, and we're going to spread out, we're going to stay within the lot. So again, you could probably just stay put and just keep rocking if you need to. But again, we're going to spread out a little bit. I'm going to test the EMF because the EMF here can go pretty high. So it just depends on the particular night, what kind of group I have, so forth and so on.
I think it said Tennessee.
Tennessee?
I think I heard something after. You are not.
What did it say?
You are not.
You are not Tennessee. See? That's why you guys keep me around for the funny jokes about the stuff you're hearing. All right, so let's spread out. Let's see if we can get in touch with Eliza. And let's see what we can get out of this guy. So turn the signal with your camera. Make sure it's full. Do it both times. Screens. And I put that on. I'm watching on a lot of screens. somebody walking by. Andy's coming. Don't be a YouTuber. Pointing at us. Take a look at that word list. Take a look at this video. Not only that, but there's no places to pick up horses eat carrots. And there might be some named Edmund. So, not that I can verify who that is, but I can, at least dive in a little bit. I know it sounds silly, but these are the types of things I because you heard the number 40, like right. Again, I use that as an example every single time. That's a real thing. And it's not like they don't know I'm coming. I mean, I'm out here 6 to 7 nights a week. So, again, I'm excited about Carrot. I don't know who the hell Edmund is yet, but there's your word quote. Now, what do you got?
I heard something on like something list or something. I don't know.
Word list?
Yeah, I thought I heard. I was on the video too.
Yeah, whenever like we start spreading out like this, that's when you can crank it, share the other earpiece, so forth and so on. But yeah, I'm excited about Carrot.
Russ, and I think it said and her ruler.
And her ruler.
Trusting her ruler. That's clever. I don't know.
You got anything coming up on your camera?
What?
I'm gonna take like 1 or 2 laps and kind of see what's going on here and give you guys an opportunity to listen, see if I can find a hotspot.
Whoa. This is whoa.
What did it say?
This is whoa.
Oh yeah, it was on there before I left. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you want to try to have a person in there and then take the person out so that way we can see what's legit. See how it's picking up like the thing in the background there? It's picking up that sign. I think it's picking up the post. Yeah, that looks like the post.
Yeah.
But you got this.
I said there might be a horse named Edna in there who eats carrots.
Her story.
electricity in the air. There's no wiring near us, there's no wiring underground, so there's no reason for me to get any readings in here above 2.5. Natural EMF from the earth is 1.1, so that's why I go straight to the 2.5. I did get it up to, I think it was 10.1, 10.2. The average spike for this location is 18 to 22 milligauss. So let me put that in retrospective. Your TV sets up about 40 to 60 milligauss. So that is normally about half of what that spike is. So your microwave, about 150 to 170. The highest I've ever seen one of these devices go has been here, 214 milligauss. It's like putting your head inside the microwave.
That's crazy.
We left. I'm a guy who has seizures. I don't play with that much electricity in the air with a neurological disorder. So again, we got out of here. That was before I even let them investigate. Like, we had just spread out. I was showing the person how to use this and the REM pod that was built into it. And I saw the 214 and I said, everybody gather up, we gotta go. Like, it was that quick.
Nice.
So again, I did get it up to a 10. So again, we had some other readings that were building up to that. But when I say it went up to a 10, that means it drops right back down below 2.5 almost immediately. Like, those are the types of readings that I'm looking for. So again, I don't want the 10 and then a 9 and then an 8. I don't want to see it gradually because that's usually coming from something man-made. That would be a wire or your TV set, like walking away from it. So let's kind of go over the answers a little bit. And did you hear anything else? And do you have anything else on your list?
Not really. Village. Nope, not since you were class.
Okay. So the only thing I'm interested in is the fact that you heard the word story and the word list. It's almost like it's telling me to make sure I'm looking at that to kind of see if there's a story missing or something that I don't know about. I've been investigating this space for nearly 4 years. I think I know everything, but I know I don't. So I am interested in the word carrot that showed up on the word list as we were talking about Eliza's garden, which means we're still close to Big Red Barn. Horses eat carrots. Name Edna also shows up, which means there could be an Edna horse in there. I have no idea. There's no way for me to be able to verify that, but it is what it is. So let's go over the answers really quickly. Now, were you guys comfortable with asking questions out loud, or were you just kind of focused or waiting to see what was going to happen?
I asked questions out loud. I
Okay.
didn't get anything.
Okay. Just so I know what kind of like style, suits you kind of thing. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. I use her maiden name because she's the second wife named Eliza, back to back from Charles. First wife also had a maiden name that started with the letter L. We normally, depending on if we ask the question or not, we'll get either of the maiden names so we know which Eliza we're dealing with. Keep in mind that means we're dealing with 3 Charleses, 2 Elizas. The first wife, Eliza Lamb. So Lamb and Lucas are the 2 maiden names. This Eliza married Charles at the age of 22. He was 45. Creepy to me because I'm close to Charles's age and my oldest daughter is Eliza's age. So that's kind of a creepy age gap for me. So the mansion, which were your questions, Rachel, this is the only photograph of the mansion we actually have.
Wow.
So this is fire
Right
damage.
here?
Yep, it's exactly where you're standing. So this is fire damage. This is the only picture we have of what this place used to look like. This was from the Great Fire of 1861. Every tour you're going to take down here is going to tell you about a Great Fire. It's just the way Charleston is, that we've had dozens of them. So is she okay? Do we need to get moving?
No, I'm sorry. You're
No,
good.
you're fine.
I just don't
I want to make sure she's okay.
No, she's fine. She's just antsy.
It's late.
She don't like being locked up in the stroller.
Oh, fair enough.
Here, you'll be happy when you get out.
Now I can see your face.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
So, every tour is going to tell you about a fire. Sometimes, if we get what actually damaged the house, we will often get parts of the date, usually 2 or 3 digits. This happened December 11th of 1861. So we'll get 12/11/61 on a spirit box somewhere. Usually about 2 numbers, and those are very specific numbers. Obviously, it's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, with the fires and us having dozens of them, I like to at least show you which fire took out the mansion. This is a map of Charleston. The orange is the fire. You're standing on the tiny little green dot on the right-hand side of the map. It literally, it went from one side of the peninsula all the way to the next. So it took the water on the other side, the actual river, to actually put this fire out.
Not
That-
Dwayne Jackson.
Damn, Jackson. I'll explain. Give me just a moment. Actually, I could do that now because we can talk about this. So there are ties to John Calhoun all over town. John Calhoun was our 7th vice president, and he served under Andrew Jackson. So, interesting thing about Jackson keeps showing up here. It's not even in the same time period of the family members of the Pinckney family that I'm talking about now, but their descendants, yes, there's ties to that. But Jackson, and we will get things relative to Calhoun pretty much all evening because he died in March and he was born in March. So again, when that happens, we normally start to see a little bit more. I don't even talk about John unless it is in the month of March, just so you know. But the fact that we're getting clues to about it now, I'm waiting for another verifier. Am I convinced yet? Not necessarily, but I have seen it in the past.
You just said verify and nothing said confirm.
That's crazy.
Welcome to my world, guys. I can't make this stuff up. So let's talk about the kids. This is something I don't always bring up because this will poke the bear. I have to when I have my group of 10, but there were 4 children grand total. So the first one you already know about was Charles, right? Signer of the Constitution. The next one I talk about is Thomas. He fought in a Revolutionary War battle, shot in his left leg, and captured by the British. When the British released him, after they realized who he was left on a cane the rest of his days from that gunshot wound. So terms around Thomas would be obviously his name, left, leg, wounded. We've even had the battle show up. Like Camden is a city in Charleston, or not Charleston, but in South Carolina, but he actually fought in the Battle of Camden. And we've had Battle and Camden show up on 2 different spirit boxes in the same evening, and something I didn't even know about. That's how I found out about it. So again, this is how this line of work works. Yeah. The next child is the one we don't poke the bear with, Baby George. Baby George didn't make it. We don't know how old he was. June of 1747, he was born and he passed away. So he could have been days old, weeks old. We don't know. He doesn't have a headstone or a grave. My theory behind this is that during those times, some religions would actually allow you to mummify your infant child that didn't make it and keep them in the home, in a tomb, waiting for the mother to pass away so he could be buried with her. It's going to get even more weird. We talk about Eliza's death. One more child. Her name was Harriet. We'll make this brief. She married Daniel Horry County's Myrtle Beach. That gives you an idea of where she lives, 2.5 hours north of here. Eliza wouldn't have had a 2.5-hour car ride. There's no cars. Lots of letter writing instead. So quill, ink, paper, published. Those kind of terms will show up. We don't really hear from Harriet very often, but when we do, those are the terms we get. Eliza's death, which were your questions. She was 70 years old when she passed away. First off, that's a long time for a woman to be alive in colonial times. So she died in 1793. She was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments for whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. We didn't know what breast cancer was in 1793. We're going based off her medical records now. She died in Philly. She's buried in Philly. 2 questions should be in the back of your head right now. If she's up there, what the hell are we doing down here? Right? I don't take you to actual cemeteries. None of you are going to hang out looking at your headstone when you're gone. We're going to go to your mansions 400 miles away, which is why I bring you to spaces like this. The other thing is Baby George. If my theory's true, you can't Google mummied baby when you get home either, by the way. Government office will call you. If my theory's true, they would have transported his tomb, mummied baby inside, all the way to Philadelphia from here by horse and carriage. Like, that's a long ride.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to Philadelphia in August, and that's one of my stops, is to go pay my respects to Eliza, a woman I've been talking about for 4 years. So I don't know why she keeps smiling at me. I must have did something, or I got a ghost near me. One of the two. Who wants to take a guess at who the president was that was the pallbearer? 1793. Come on, you guys are in school. Nothing? It's good you can't answer. Let me explain why. It was George Washington.
I was going to say that.
At his own request.
I know.
At his own request, he wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on the indigo that helped get the country started. Now, when I got here, I told you I was not going to give you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse? And I do that on purpose, so I subliminally put George Washington in the back of all of your brains. You all passed with a fail, so good job. So a lot of people will get the right answer because they listened to, they know their presidents in 1793. They're thinking, oh, that would have been Washington. So most people guess Adams.
Yeah.
And I want to say that's because he was president at that time. So again, I didn't say it was a current president during those times. I just said a president. So the next space we're going to is an alley. We're going to be cutting through the market if you guys haven't been down here yet to get to the alley. So it's about 2.5 blocks from here. I'll make sure we get some shoulder friendly style sidewalks, and then when we get inside, you two will start your video cameras back up again. Keep in mind it is a very popular ghost tour stop. We do not film other tours, so if you see another tour, you're going to turn yours on and hold it just like that. And again, that way we can at least get the footage down there. Just don't steer it in the direction of that group. The cool thing about that space is we don't spread out like what we did here. I'm just there to kind of stir shit up. so that way we can get some rollover to the next location, because the next location after that is really close. So it's kind of like, I call it bleed over. So like we could have had things relative to Big John here, and vice versa. We could have things relative to Pinckney Mansion over on the other side. So again, it just depends on, you know, where we're at. We're probably not going to hear from the Pinckneys the rest of the evening. I am really surprised that we've got this Jackson piece that showed up on your list. Do you have anything else that showed up there?
No.
Terms along the way?
No, just glove since I saw doctor. That's the only thing that's come up.
So this is called Philadelphia Alley now, but it used to be called Duelers Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. So, and the slower you move with that camera, the easier it's going to be to find something, just so you know. But we all tell the same story down here, but I tell it a little bit differently because it's more detail because of what you're doing. You're ghost hunting. It's not campfire marshmallow time. So, this is a story of a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. Now, if you hear the song Brown Eyed Girl on the radio, it's not coincidence.
African traveler?
What?
African traveler just came up.
That's really weird. I'll explain it. I'll go into that now because we're not even touching the doctor yet. I can't take you all the way through this alley because I've been kicked out of here. Let me explain.
Lord.
Yeah. So, when I first started doing this, I used to take people all the way down to the end because this alley didn't always go all the way through this way. It was cut off. So, this because it was called Cow Alley before it was Duelers Alley, because this is where they kept all the livestock, so cows, chickens, that kind of thing, were all in here. That means those bricks on that side, all the way down at the end, are older than the ones on this side. Those bricks were sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child in one of those bricks visible, and I used to take people down there because obviously I created this. We get a lot of things let me start to climb down. Obviously, we're gonna. But at any rate, so everybody wants to try to get a reading out of that handprint. I treat it the same way I do a grave. That kid's not staring at that handprint in the afterlife. So I'm trying to shoot him along. It was November 26th of 2020. My entire group of 10 is huddled waiting. What we didn't know is I was out of bounds. And I also shoot him along just out of respect because it's outside the kitchen window of a beautiful mansion at the end of the interim. The new owner of that mansion came out screaming. My daughter thought it was great because she was on tour that night, probably about your age, and she's laughing hysterically, and we moved along. Now, the next day was Thanksgiving. I don't work Thanksgiving because I worked in retail management for over 20 years, mainly for Walmart. Adults will understand my pain of why I don't work Thanksgiving anymore. So the next day, November 28th, I got a phone call from my partner and said, we got to take it down either halfway, which is what we're allowed to do, because the other half is considered residential, or reroute the group. So I told my team that night, we're going to reroute the group, but I don't believe in this next story we're going to be discussing, because I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate person. I don't get into pirates at all. So before we left, somebody heard the name Anne on a spirit box. I didn't tell them who we were going to be investigating. Kind of like the predictive things that we've been doing, and you had the word doctor. We are going to be investigating the famous female pirate Anne Bonny. So I went, all right, we'll see what happens when we get there. I told a little bit about piracy that I knew, and then somebody else on a spirit box heard the number 300. I don't know what that means in real time. We're there November 28th, 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720.
Wow.
We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. And I didn't know that in real time. I didn't do the research the next day, because again, that's why I write everything down. So that's why I keep taking you guys over there. It is a hit or miss location, but it is a nice spread out for 10 people to investigate, and we get bleed over from this doctor story that I'm about to cover. So that's why we go discuss and not go down all the way. So Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney that's helping her out with all of the cash. Some of money.
I had saw something like a person, and I thought it was a light, but it's not popping up or anything now.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
It's
perfect. So stop your recording. So to capture something, you stop it, so that way we know we can capture it later on. Well, the cameras don't see the same dimensions. That's the interesting thing. So even when I have the infrared camera out here, I want them all pointed in different directions. So back to Dr. Ladd. The attorney that's handling all of Amanda's money thinks the doctor is after Amanda's cash. So he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. So Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after the money. And the coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his day in Charleston. Somebody was walking by. His name is Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph because he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. So the doctor came from Rhode Island. We do get the letters R.I. a lot, either from that spirit box, the Ouija board device that I have in my bag, or from a spirit box. So Ralph tells the doctor, you don't want to stay here, dude. I know this guy's going to try to kill you. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. 59 shows up here a lot. You could stay there, rent a room, you'd be good to go. The doctor took him up on the offer. They became friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point that he wasn't after Amanda's money. So Amanda gets wind of this, and she's coming down so they can get married, and Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city you're ever going to visit has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. But there's actually proof of this one, and I'm going to get to it. Doctor and Ralph go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He just gets better seats, which is the way it works. They're arguing one night on their way home, talking about the play and the new actress. The doctor thought the new actress was great. Ralph didn't think so. So the argument gets really heated when he starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. Ralph then puts an ad in the newspaper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of a, you're a disgrace to society kind of thing. So the doctor saw the ad, but rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they came down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air.
You said 10 paces and a measure popped up.
I can't make this stuff up. We've had the word pace show up here. And 10, from different devices. But he shot his one shot in the air. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph puts his one bullet in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor drops, and he doesn't die, but Ralph proved his point. He's still mad. The doctor's friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later, after he refused medical treatment. You have to remember that gunshot wounds back in 1786 were a lot different than they are now. He was probably trying to bleed it out himself because it was probably lead poisoning. So they say as you walk through here, you can hear how quiet it is, that you can hear the whistles from the doctor. The cool thing is I'm recording the entire thing for you, as are your cameras. So you don't always have to listen for a whistle on your own, but if you're going to take a little walk through here and turn on your voice recorders, I want you to keep in mind that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Queen Street or Cumberland is going to throw a whistle down the alley. So I do it every single night. I have to pass the alley to get back to my car. When my daughter's with us, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So it's just kind of a little game we play. But now that you know why we're going to the next space, the gate behind me before we leave, this is another reason why I like to stop here. Remember that the alley didn't go all the way through because this is where they kept the livestock? This was the archway as a shortcut if there was a loser to the duel to get over to the cemetery on the other side. So the archway was created during the Dueler's Alley times, which would have been in the 1770s to the 1790s, and this is why they have it. Otherwise, they're carrying a dead body all the way down to the end and then back down and around to get over to St. Philip's Church. So that's why the archway is there. The gate was not there until the 1900s based on the ironwork that I can see, so that's a guess on my end. But again, this was an open archway after it was cow alley. Any other major terms show up?
Presidential.
You know what else the funny thing is about Jackson? There's a rumor that Andrew Jackson actually did that. Not to mention, we're getting closer and closer to John Calhoun's, tomb as well. And sarcophagus, rather. Any terms coming out of yours? And you have something for me to catch when I'm reviewing it, so I'll definitely have to take a look at that. I'll take a note as we move on to the next space. John, anything crazy on yours? I know you were kind of focused on the story, but that's okay. We don't spend a lot of time here because we're going to be investigating the next space pretty openly. So it looks like you want to see that. How old is she?
About 7 months.
Very attentive. My youngest was like that. All right. So, and how old are you two?
I'm 12.
I'm 13.
12. Yeah, my daughter is 17 and she's shorter than you guys. Like she's like this. And my oldest daughter, she's 22 and shorter than that. So about 2 more inches. Their mom is really short. All right, so for those of you with cameras, if you want to continue recording, just keep in mind we're going to be walking around people, so don't be too obvious as a YouTuber. But we're going to just stand at the other Ghost Tours Way. It's another popular area, so we're going to see how that one goes up there. So I'm kind of excited because we have certain clues that we caught in real time, so hopefully that gives me something else to, I'll be looking for. I won't be looking for, but if the number 10 or pace or anything like that shows up, that's where I'll be excited about something. And then, of course, we think we caught something very brief. And keep in mind that that lamp post is back there too.
I thought it was a lamppost, but then like I keep pointing over there and nothing's popping up. So
Well, it's good that you can't recreate it. So with paranormal evidence, you don't want the same thing every single time. So because if you do, then it's obviously something, you know, in our plane and dimension. All right, let's get this stroller moving. We're gonna go back out the way we came.
Because I'm not sure. And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's probably the experience that but people put this on hands on my knees in here, and it makes sense because the doctors got shot at me. They thought it was funny, but it was actually relevant. See where I'm going?
I heard apple water.
See where I'm going? Crazy terms, you know what I mean?
America. Infrastructure.
You can definitely hit that record button here, John. Just keep in mind, other tours do pass through here, which is why I bring us to the back. Love your focus.
She's very into it.
I know, I see that.
Uh-oh.
So it's usually the ones that are a little timid at first that really like they're in it, you know, they're deep. So we're gonna be discussing that little tiny building behind you. That's the gunpowder magazine. So you see them now. Those are not crosses on the building. Those are earthquake bolts. So it's the building in front, John. There you go. He was looking at the apartment building, like, what the hell's so important about a brick building? But those crosses are earthquake bolts, and earthquake bolts, if you're not familiar with them, those are basically turnbuckles. So if you have another earthquake, like what we did in '86, if you haven't, you can turn the turnbuckles day by day, and it's supposed to tighten the building back up so it doesn't incur any further damage. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work. I've seen the little...
Does that really work?
No, it doesn't. Californians laugh at me all the time whenever I bring these up because they know that they don't work. The reason I bring them up is part of the reason why we're here. Those particular earthquake bolts were the first set that Charleston ever put in because that's the oldest government building in South Carolina. So, you want to talk about infrastructure? That's kind of a weak tie, but it is, you know, you have the word America, and our friend John Calhoun is buried on the other side of this wall. So we are very close to Calhoun terms coming through. So again, when you have America and infrastructure coming up, like, I don't know, it's vague, but you're going to definitely look into how much other things are popping up we're here because this building was being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny was coming here to start her new life. So the building took 10 years to build. That doesn't sound like the government, does it? Small building, 10 years? Not at all. But anyway, our story begins right in the middle of it, 1708. Right in the middle of construction, a young lady moves here from Ireland. Her name is Anne Cormack. She comes here with her father and his girlfriend. The girlfriend / mistress is Anne's mother. Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple of twists in her story.
Yeah, wait.
So her father's girlfriend is her mom.
Okay.
With me? The three of them are coming here to run away from her father's angry wife.
Okay.
So he was cheating on his wife. The girlfriend had a baby. They moved here. Got it? Okay.
Yep.
So that's why I slowed down on that part because it can get a little confusing. They land in Georgetown, which is just north of us between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad bought a plantation, but Mom died pretty quickly thereafter. Which means he's got to send young Anne down here to Charleston so that way she can sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. So, hence the familiar building. That's why we're here. For those of you that watch the TV shows, this is the same principle of using a teddy bear to attract a child ghost. This is what I call a familiar piece. We don't have many buildings in Charleston this old, but this is something she would recognize. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to get some activity that she's here at the same time that we are. So, let's go backwards a little bit. When she was back in Ireland, they say she was kind of a badass. They say she killed one of her servants when she was only 7, 8, 9 years old with a knife to the belly. So again, she killed a servant just straight to the stomach. We have had the word servant, knife, and belly all show up in the same evening on multiple occasions. Fast forward, the building's done in 1713. By 1715, pirates are coming to town. Anne is stoked. Why? She's going to fall in love because she wants to earn her freedom, just like a man. Anne's one. So, first guy she falls in love with, yes, I said first, because there's a handful, and we're going to go through them all, is James Bonny. You're going to see where this one's going because I already mentioned her married name, right? Wow. You might want to get closer to us. I know, but definitely don't film anything at this point, so I would actually...
Don't do that.
Hand it back down. So, the word skin will make sense here in just a minute. By the way, this is another space where part of the reason why I give that heated warning at the beginning. A year ago, this past September, I brought my group to the back, and the kid next to me, it was September, so it was temperatures like this, he started to pass out, so quickly that I had to hurry up and catch him by his armpit. His boyfriend picked him up from the other side of him, and we brought him over here, got him a bottle of water from a vending machine. He was feeling better, and then I told them the story about Anne Bonny, that same one I told you. This used to be my last stop. So I would say, all right, guys, go have fun, spread out, let's see what we can find. And I'd actually let him go over to the church and all kinds of things, just go have a blast. And them two pull me aside, and they say, Nick, we have to tell you, we are 2 transgender males. I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story, on the tour.
Dang.
So these are the things that I can't explain. Again, it made sense once they told me. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I didn't pick up on it. It was just one of those pieces. But psychics and mediums, really practicing ones, I don't give them a spirit box because it's just too many messages and they don't understand how the messages come through anyway because they're already getting their own. Most of them will pass out at the Pinckney Mansion site if there's high EMF. They just can't handle it. I can't tell you how many I've sent out on a gurney to an emergency room. Okay. Yeah, it happens a lot. So probably more than, we'll just say 2 or 3 times a year. To me, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but let's cover Anne Bonny because that's the fun part of where we're at. Madeline's like, what the hell did we sign up for? He's freaking me out, man. But, all right. So Anne Bonny, this is one of the few pictures you can find of her with a shirt on where she would be showing skin. Reason why is because she used to bare her breast to show men that they were just killed by a woman. Because again, she would be dressed like a man. So I get a lot of teenage boys on this group. I don't need angry moms leaving, which is why we use this picture. But the names of her parents, William Cormack, Mary Brennan. This was not another subliminal trick. I was actually hoping the name Reed would show up on your end, but Mary Brennan was the mom. I also like to show you what Calico Jack looked like because everybody wants to see what they based Johnny Depp off of. And this is the real deal. This is the guy. So he was named Calico Jack because of the jackets that he wore. His father was a tailor, which means textiles were important to him. These jackets came from British captains that he killed. So Calico Jack translates to fancy jacket. It's basically where the name comes from. The name of his ship was called the Kingston. Why I get excited about the word Kingston is because we wouldn't expect Kingston to come through our radio stations, right? The word king would suffice in this kind of space. If you were to ask directly, hey Jack, what's the name of your ship? And you heard the word king, or the word king showed up on your word list, I would then be excited. Now, Kingston would probably come through as a disembodied voice, meaning it's not the radio chatter. So that would be really the only way we would get the full word of Kingston. This is where we have to intermix our tech with what they're able to use. So it's just kind of like, Big Red Barn and Blood, same principle. The next base we go to, I don't know a whole lot about, which is why we do the Estes method there. I change this up every year. So I've only been going there for a few months. I'll tell you a very brief story, not a very long 10-minute elongated story about it, and then we're going to sit down, and you are not going to know the story, because I don't want you to be influenced in any way, shape, or form. So you're going to be sitting with Dad, because again, it's a park, so I don't want to be leaving you alone with, just another teenager. That's not going to work out for me. So you and Dad are going to sit out, and you're not going to know the history. I'm going to tell these two the history of the space, and then you're going to be blindfolded, and you're going to have a set of headphones on, and then we're going to switch it over to you. So again, it's okay for you to know a little bit. I've been testing this way to see, do I need to separate people? Do I want to separate people? So we're going to do 50-50 tonight. So you guys are allowing me to experiment, and hopefully you're going to be teaching me a few things about the space. That's how this works. Yeah. So, what do you think, John? Is that a true way to do it?
Yeah.
Mr. Skeptic over there?
That sounds good.
I will tell you that we did have specific names pop up that were relevant to the person we were investigating while we were there through the Estes method. And the person did sit out. So it was what they heard directly, and it was a direct answer of the name of the gentleman's wife. And he said it almost, I would say, within a minute. So, again, this method does work. And again, I'd like to keep you guys, biased, so that way you have no idea what's going to happen or what the story is.
Are people living in us?
Yep, those are apartments.
Okay. I had to make sure.
Hopefully you weren't filming somebody in the shower.
I just saw lights go off.
Where we're going is about 2.5 blocks from here, so you can probably give your cameras a break. I definitely want you listening in.
There's nothing interesting. That's just my mom. Hey, something popped up. I'm not sure what though, because I didn't get to see it whenever it popped up. I don't know if it's just a light post or what. What in the world? Something showed up and it's scaring me. Oh my god. Something showed up. It is. Yes. What is that?
What?
Mom, you're scaring me.
I'm not joking, y'all.